Think you know everything there is to know about America? Then you're smarter than the average person. It turns out a large percentage of native-born United States citizens can't correctly answer simple questions on the official U.S. citizenship test. But beyond the basics, there are a few crazy facts about America that most people never heard before. Ahead, beef up your trivia knowledge and get ready for 20 facts about the USA that will blow your mind. 1. There is no official language in the United States. Welcome to the melting pot, where most people speak English, a huge portion of people speak Spanish, and if you speak just about any other language, you're bound to find a community of folks who share that same form of communication. There are more than 350 languages spoken in the U.S. 2. 1 in 8 people in the United States has been employed by McDonald's. McDonald's may not be the biggest fast food chain in the world, but they certainly are the most popular. Perhaps that's why everyone from high school kids to working parents and retirees has donned the uniform and flipped burgers. In fact, McDonald's hires around 1 million workers every year in the United States. 3. Russia sold Alaska to the United States for 2 cents per acre. Talk about a bargain buy. The largest state in the nation by far is Alaska, and it came cheap at just $7.2 million total. In just 50 years following the purchase, America made their money back more than 100 times over. The Russians probably didn't know about the gold, right? 4. Arizona and Hawaii don't observe daylight savings time. Many people believe that daylight savings time was implemented for farmers, but that's not true. In fact, most farmers are against it. The practice started during World War I in the German Empire. And despite all the opposition, most of the country follows it, except for Arizona and Hawaii. 5. Cows outnumber humans 3-1 in Montana. It's a good thing cows don't want to stage a mutiny against people, because in Montana they'd probably win. The number one industry in this state is agriculture, and livestock accounts for 2/3 of it. There are approximately 2.6 million cattle in Montana and just over 1 million humans residing there. 6. Other countries think it's weird that college sports are so popular. Europeans cannot fathom the popularity of March Madness. America is the only country that celebrates college sports and elevates their players to elite status. It is a little strange when you think about it. Technically, college athletes are just students doing extracurricular activities. 7. In the U.S., 40% of babies are born to unmarried women. It wasn't always this way, but for the 8th year in a row, a whopping 40% of all babies were born to unwed mothers. That's in stark contrast to 1940, when just 3.8% of babies had unmarried parents. That number didn't hit 10% until 1969. 8. 1 in 3 Americans is obese. Ask 50 different people what caused the obesity epidemic and you'll get 50 different answers. Still, the fact remains that 1 in 3 Americans qualifies as obese according to BMI charts. Associated illnesses cost the nation $315 billion in healthcare expenses, and it keeps getting worse, and more expensive, every year. 9. It's legal for children to smoke. This one just seems like a huge oversight. Despite the incredible health risks and addictive nature of cigarettes, it is legal for children under 18 to light up and smoke a cigarette, except in Nevada. It's just illegal for them to purchase the cigarettes. 10. Most presidents were born in Virginia. Maybe it's because of the close proximity to the nation's capital? Whatever the reason, 8 United States presidents were born in Virginia, including 4 of the first 5. They were George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, William Henry Harrison, John Tyler, Zachary Taylor, and Woodrow Wilson. 11. If you have a $10 bill and no debt, you are wealthier than 15% of all American citizens. The American way is to borrow money to buy the things you don't have. Student loan debt, credit card debt, medical debt, mortgages, car loans, it all adds up, and the Federal Reserve found that a huge portion of the population has negative net value. 12. Most Americans spend 4.4 years at each job. No wonder most people can't stick to one-page resumes. American employees are likely to leave their companies in search of higher salaries and better benefits rather than sticking it out for the long haul. The average baby boomer holds 10 jobs between the ages of 18 and 42. 13. More people live in New York City than in 40 out of 50 states. Wrap your head around this for a minute. New York City may be geographically tiny, but it's home to 8.5 million people and growing. That's more bodies crammed into one location than the whole wide countryside including 40 other states. 14. Kansas produces enough wheat in 1 year to feed everyone in the world for 2 weeks. If there was a logical way to transport and distribute all the wheat in Kansas around the world, then no one would go hungry for 2 weeks, except everyone who avoids gluten. It's all just proof of how important farmers are, and how big Kansas is. 15. There are around 5,000 commercial airplanes flying over the United States at any given time. Look up in the sky for long enough and you're bound to see an airplane whizzing by. Air traffic controllers have their work cut out for them, because an astounding 5,000 planes are usually flying at the same time. Still, air travel is one of the statistically safest and fastest ways to get from place to place. 16. The current flag was designed by a 17-year-old. Our current 50-star flag was designed as part of a high school project by 17-year-old Robert Heft. It was 1958, and there were only 48 states at the time, but Heft had a hunch Hawaii and Alaska would soon be granted statehood. His teacher gave him a B but went on to update the grade to an A after Heft submitted his design to the White House, eventually leading to a call from President Eisenhower that it had been selected as the official U.S. flag. This is one of the 20 American flag facts that will amaze you. 17. The Constitution wasn't original. If you thought that Ben Franklin and the Founding Fathers came up with the Constitution all by themselves, you'd be wrong. They actually modeled it after the Constitution of the Iroquois Confederacy of Native American tribes. It's just one of many facts about Native Americans you didn't learn in history class. 18. Independence Day could have been on July 2nd. One of the things many people don't know about Independence Day is that Congress officially declared its independence from England on July 2, 1776. We celebrate the holiday on the 4th of July because this is the day that John Hancock became the first man to sign the document. Test your mettle on how well you know the Declaration of Independence. 19. The Wright brothers never went to college. Wilbur and Orville Wright, better known as the Wright brothers, famously invented the airplane, which might lead you to believe they were a highly educated pair, but in actuality, neither of them graduated college. The invention brought the brothers fame and fortune, so, fortunately, they didn't live to become one of these inventors who regretted their inventions. 20. The real-life Barbie and Ken were siblings. The diminutive Barbie is arguably the most famous doll in America, which makes sense since it came from California, where Ruth Handler invented the doll in 1959 and named it after her daughter, Barbara. It might not surprise you to learn that Handler also had a son named Ken. This is what Barbie looked like the decade you were born.